High noon, New Year's Day, ESPN, Joe Test, Jesse Palmer on the call. Number 5 seed, your Oregon Ducks, a 2-point favorite, squaring off against the number 4 seed Texas Tech Red Raiders. Yeah, Big 12 Conference champion. Your over-under here is 53.5 points. For what it's worth, the SP Plus says that the wrong team is favored. Texas Tech should be favored by 2.5 points.
Okay.
We can debate the merits of that if we want. The winner here will play in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl on Friday, January the 9th. Of note for your Oregon Ducks, they are going to be playing this quarterfinal matchup in the opposite corner of the good old US of A at noon Eastern time.
Yeah.
Which is a body clock situation, is it not?
I think they left today. So for a Thursday at 9 a.m. body clock situation, they'll be in Miami Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday night. So I don't know if you can use that as an excuse in the same way that, like, if you're traveling Friday afternoon for a Saturday morning game. I don't know, Ty.
That's why
anybody who's listened to this show knows that Ty is the smart one, and I'm just here for looks. Continue.
Sure. That's what everybody thinks.
Yep.
Stylistically, I think this is a really interesting matchup for this specific reason. Texas Tech is used to facing man coverage about 35% of the time. Oregon plays it 55% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, that might create some matchups for Baron Morton.
Yep.
Particularly in the slot where he likes to throw most of his passes. That's where most of them have gone this year on the Texas Tech offensive side. But if you can't find the right matchups, I'm curious to see if Texas Tech's going to break some tendencies. Like I said, they like to throw to the slot, but might they start throwing to guys coming out of the backfield? It hasn't really been a huge part of their offense this season, but Jacoby Williams has been over 12 yards per catch. Could see some more of that against Oregon. Either way, I think Texas Tech needs to have a little bit more balance. And I think they've got to get Cameron Dickey and or Jacoby Williams going on the ground. And it does not matter to me whether they're handing it off or throwing it to him out of the backfield, a quick pass, an extension of the run game, as it were, whatever. I don't necessarily trust Baron Morton to just go out there and win it on his own. I think they need balance. I think he needs to have a little bit more of a supporting cast if they're going to do this thing against Oregon. Now, Baron Morton, I know Texas Tech people are going to comment on this. We've gotten it all year. Baron Morton has had a very good year. For what it's worth,
beat up, but good.
Beat up. For what it's worth, though, and I know that what I'm about to say here is also a point of contention.
Okay.
If you trust things like passer grades, I know it's a subjective measure. His passer grades have not been great against the better teams on the schedule. He finished the year about the 40th or so highest graded passer in college football. Games against Arkansas Pine Bluff and Kent State and Oregon State and UCF and West Virginia, those games are doing a lot of work to pull up that average.
Mm-hmm.
I like Baron Morton. I do. I just think there needs to be more to this Texas Tech offensive attack against a very good Oregon defense. A good, not great Oregon defense.
Yeah.
If they're going to pull out and merge the victor here.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at on this. So what those wrinkles are, how they incorporate that balance, that to me remains a big open question because I think this is a very, very good defense. They have not seen a defense this good all year. That's where I'm at.
Okay. Yeah, Baron Morton is somewhere around like against the ranked teams that they've played, which I guess is 2 games against BYU and a game against Utah. He's somewhere around the 35th to 45th best quarterback in America from a pure statistical standpoint.
That's right.
Obviously. Different quarterbacks play different number of teams and ranked is all relative and everything like that. I think he's had a good year and he's been beat up. Will Hammond stepped in, obviously had a big fourth quarter against Utah, I believe. Didn't have a great game against ASU in that loss. So it should be noted their one loss against ASU was not a Baron Morton game on the road. And ASU was a defending champ and played in the playoff last year. Disappointing season ultimately with Sam Leavitt's injury, but that's the one game.
Yeah.
Okay. I am not going to say what I said when I previewed Oregon, Indiana, which was, I don't know how many players on Indiana would start for Oregon. I'm not saying that.
Don't do that again to yourself.
I'm not doing it again. Period.
You took some arrows from the Indiana community on that.
You know what? Sidebar, rightfully so. That was a stupid thing to say. When I look at the position groups in this game, I think I give far more advantages to Oregon, with clear advantages, I think, to Texas Tech on the edge and an overwhelming advantage to Texas Tech at linebacker. But in terms of talent on hand, and right, that even if Oregon has more talent across the board, we know defense, for example, can be greater than the sum of its parts, and offense, a lot has to do with coordinator and rhythm and quarterback, whatever. I think Oregon is a more talented team who played a tougher schedule. Now, if Texas Tech's defense is in fact as terrific as the numbers imply, then their results completely reflect that, right? That they're holding teams to 0, 7, 6, 10, whatever. They're playing 4 full quarters. They're creating havoc, and especially at linebacker and especially at turning teams over, this Texas Tech defense, no insult implied, was at times, or even like mostly, overwhelming to the teams that they faced, including the best teams that they faced, to be clear. I think Texas Tech this year has been nothing short of excellent. Period. I'm not talking about the schedule. They've performed against the schedule like an elite team should have performed.
I'm waiting for the capital B but, though. Where's the but?
There's no but. Texas Tech is excellent, period.
But there's going to be a transition here. I can feel everybody watching and listening can feel the transition coming.
I also think
okay,
Oregon's ceiling is higher because of their offense. I think the best of Oregon's offense and the best of Oregon's defense combined will play at a higher level. If I'm going to mention Winter Wonders in Miami, Ohio State, I'm going to mention it here. I think Oregon has the potential for more explosion on a big stage at running back, receiver, and tight end than Texas Tech does. I think the best of Dante Moore is better than the best of Baron Morton. I think the best of the Oregon offensive line is better than the best of the Texas Tech offensive line, which, by the way, I think is like the most penalized offensive line in America. I believe their left tackle, and Howard Sampson, has something like 14 or 15 penalties this year. That's too many. If you're going to talk about a close matchup, you got to talk about hidden yards. And I think those may exist more for the Texas Tech offense. Again, this Texas Tech offense, at its best, has been outstanding. Hasn't been a great red zone offense. The Oregon has not been a great red zone defense situation. If we're talking about the best of these two teams, including rust factor, which Texas Tech has that Oregon doesn't, I don't love that this game is in Miami for Oregon traveling cross country, but they'll have time there. I think the best of this Oregon defense, and I don't care that much about the second half of James Madison. It was 48-13 near the fourth quarter, and they pulled starters. It doesn't bother me that much. And maybe I'll just be flat out proven wrong here. I think if Oregon is able to block inside, because everybody's going to have trouble with Texas Tech's edges, Romello Height and David Bailey. They're just really, really, really good.
Yeah.
I think if Oregon's able to get some push on the inside, if Jordan Davison is healthy, he left the James Madison game beat up, but by all accounts is ready to go. If they're able to move the ball on the inside and stay ahead of the chains, I think Texas Tech's secondary, again, if Oregon's able to block somewhat these edges, because they're not going to be able to completely block them. They're just too good.
Yeah, I have some thoughts on that. I have some thoughts on that, but continue.
I think the Texas Tech secondary can be had down the field, provided Oregon blocks up these edges.
I agree with that completely.
Oregon, healthy at receiver, and now healthy with two outstanding tight ends in Kenyon Sadiq and Jamari Johnson. Adding DeCorian Moore, Malik Benson's been a revelation. Jeremiah McClellan's been very good.
Is Evan Stewart going to play?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I just don't think so. I don't know. He warmed up and then was in street clothes for the James Madison game. I just think there's more in the way of winter wonders, and I come back to, look, the path for Texas Tech is easy. You just get in Dante Moore's head and you turn him over, and that's the game, right? That Texas Tech can just sit on Oregon in the second half if they're up 17-7.
Right.
That's exactly what would play into Texas Tech's hand. My concern for Texas Tech is their offense slowing down in the red zone, even against Oregon's bad red zone defense, that it's a bigger stage than Texas Tech is used to. It's a bigger stage than Joey McGuire's used to. I think they're going to be really competitive in this game. I think Oregon wins this game by a touchdown. I think it's back and forth, And ultimately, in these moments, it's a quarterback and winter wonders thing for me. And so I have Oregon 27-20.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with most of what you said.
Yeah.
For me, the biggest key is that Tech pass rush.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's
Totally.
been the engine for the defense all year.
Yeah.
And one other thing that you mentioned, I know you point out like the Texas Tech offensive line. I'm curious to see what happens on the right side of that Oregon offensive line, because the numbers say that Oregon's very vulnerable at right tackle, which is something to watch. Do they?
Yes and no. I mean,
of the spots on that line, statistically, that is the spot you attack. So how does Shieldwood attack that? I don't know. I'm curious to see for myself. But back to what you said and just the broader point here. Okay, now
by the way, related, how does Oregon adjust? Because they really struggled. Right. Dante Moore struggled against Indiana when they did not know where the pass rush was coming from. Yeah.
I like the Oregon offense because of its balance. Because they can run, because they can throw, and most importantly now because they're a little bit more healthy than they've been. I don't know if Dante Moore is coming back next year or not. You would probably know that better than me.
Open question in this moment. There have been a couple guys returning that maybe points to it, but it's not a great quarterback class. I mean, like the Cade Klubnik and Drew Allerization of this year's class has made it a really nice year to be a high-level prospect, which Dante Moore is. Yeah.
And so my point is that this is the type of game for Dante Moore that could raise the volume on him as the number one quarterback off the board.
Totally.
I love this Tech defense. I've loved them all year. Their front seven, the way that Shieldwood in his first year, by the way, in Lubbock has schemed the Tech line to like unlock the linebackers and the edge defenders and all that. All that stuff is damn impressive. And I think for sure it is a huge challenge for Oregon. But I also like the matchup of the Oregon receivers against the Tech secondary.
Yep.
And I think there will be some really big opportunities for Oregon to take some shots downfield, especially if they can get the ground game going.
And that's where ASU, by the way, succeeded. Sam Leavitt was able to avoid the pass rush, which did beat the ASU offensive line, but he was able to buy himself time, and they were able to make hay downfield. Yeah.
We have not seen Tech play that many teams that pose a vertical threat. And I look for someone like a Kenyon Sadiq, tight end, to have a monster game attacking the seams. I think between the hashes, down the middle of the field is where I am looking here.
Some good linebackers and coverage for Texas Tech, man.
There are, but I think
good.
I think there is a matchup that can be exploited on the Oregon side.
Okay.
And there could be even more opportunities if they aren't able to get that pressure, which is what I come back to when I say that pass rush, the effectiveness of that pass rush is going to be key because Dante's mobile. He's better outside the pocket. You can make that case, a very strong case there. And he's very good at keeping his eyes downfield. So even if they scramble him out of the pocket, he keeps his eyes downfield. He's going to look for big weapons like Sadiq. And I think that is the matchup to exploit. That is what I am looking for here. Tech pass rush, even if they get pressure, what does Dante do? And are they able to stretch the field vertically?
Yeah.
I think that's what this game hinges on. I also wavered on this game because it is not hard for me to come up with a scenario in which Texas Tech pulls the outright upset. But I'm going to go with Oregon. Okay. I like the matchups. I think the matchups are in their favor. I think it is lower scoring. I've got it at 23-17. Ducks win.
I think if Oregon turns the ball over twice, they're in a lot of trouble.
Okay.
Truly. But short of that, I do think in January, which technically this is, right? January 1st?
January 1st, yeah.
We're talking about winter wonders.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you as well in advance. These types of teams tend to be when you have too many, I'm trying to not say questions and answers, but too many questions that need answers, go with the team that poses those questions.